If your stomach has ever done a backflip right before saying, "We need to talk," you already know. Starting a difficult conversation feels like stepping on a social landmine. One wrong move and boom. Awkward silences, defensive stares, or full-blown drama. But here's the thing. Avoiding it doesn't make it go away. So let's figure out how to actually start the talk without making it weird. Most of us would rather fake a phone call, slip out the back door, or move to a new city than confront someone about something uncomfortable. It's not that we're cowards, we're just human. Difficult conversations trigger the same part of the brain that lights up when we sense danger. Your body doesn't care if it's a saber-toothed tiger or a tense conversation with your roommate about dishes. It just knows you're stressed and wants to bail. So what do? We stall. We rehearse it in our head 100 times, editing the script like we're pitching it to Netflix, only to chicken out when the moment comes. It's not just fear of confrontation, it's fear of rejection, of hurting someone, of being misunderstood. We don't want to be the bad guy. Or worse, we worry we'll make things even more awkward. So we say nothing. We bottle it up, hoping it magically resolves itself, which it never does. And while we're busy avoiding discomfort, tension simmers quietly in the background like an overboiling pot. But here's the twist. The longer you avoid the talk, the heavier it gets. It starts to take up space in your head, your body, even your relationships. Avoiding the conversation doesn't protect you. It just delays the growth. So if you've been dodging that talk, know this. The anxiety is normal. But you're not alone, and there's a way to face it without setting everything on fire. When we avoid difficult conversations, we're not just sparing ourselves a few minutes of discomfort, we're laying down the groundwork for a slow, silent erosion of connection. That thing you didn't say? It doesn't just dissolve into thin air, it festers, it mutates, it finds weird little cracks to crawl through and then leaks into your tone, your timing, your body language. Suddenly, the vibe is off, and no one really knows why. But everyone feels it. It shows up in the eye rolls you don't mean to give. The dry one-word replies, the delayed responses, the weird silence that wasn't there before. It's like emotional smog, subtle but suffocating. And the worst part? The other person usually has no clue what they did wrong. They're just confused by the shift while you're quietly drowning in unsaid thoughts. At work, it's the colleague who keeps taking credit for your ideas. You say nothing, but you stop raising your hand in meetings. You shrink. You pull back. You write imaginary resignation letters in your head, fantasizing about storming out in slow motion. In relationships, it's your partner doing that one tiny thing that makes your skin crawl. But you bite your tongue until one day, you absolutely lose it over something dumb, like the way they chew toast. And in friendships, it's a slow ghosting. You start canceling plans, stop replying, let things fade. Not because you don't care, but because it just feels easier than bringing up the uncomfortable truth. Bottling things up isn't kindness. It's quiet corrosion. It eats away at connection, trust, and authenticity. You might think you're keeping the peace, but really, you're just putting a filter over a problem that's still very much alive. The cost of avoiding hard conversations isn't just the conversation, it's the emotional residue it leaves behind. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. And by then, it's not just hard, it's damage control. Here's the part no one really tells you. Starting a difficult conversation doesn't have to feel like jumping into a lion's den wearing a meat suit. Most of the dread doesn't come from the conversation itself. It comes from not knowing how to start. We overthink it, build it up in our heads like it's going to be some epic emotional showdown. We script it, rehearse it, imagine every possible reaction, and suddenly it feels like we're about to drop a truth bomb in the middle of a peaceful village. But the real secret? You're not storming the gates, you're opening a window, just a crack. Just enough to let a little honesty in without flooding the place. You don't need to have a grand speech or an airtight argument. You just need to start, gently, honestly, like a human being who cares enough to bring something uncomfortable into the light. The goal isn't to win, prove, or unload. It's to connect. It's to invite the other person into a space where you're not opponents in a blame game, but teammates trying to solve the same messy puzzle. That shift in mindset matters, and it all begins with how you start. Because those first few seconds, they're everything. Come in hot, blamey, defensive, dramatic, and you're practically daring the other person to throw up a wall. But if you lead with softness, with ownership of your own feelings, with a little bit of humility and warmth, it disarms people. It signals, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to be real. And more often than not, that's exactly what opens the door. Think of it like walking into a dimly lit space. You don't flip the lights on full blast. You ease in. You adjust. You let the moment settle. That's what the start of a hard conversation should feel like. A gentle invitation, not a confrontation. When you open with care, curiosity, and calm, you give the conversation a chance to breathe. And more often than not, the other person will follow your lead. So, what do you actually say? Like, what are the words that come out of your mouth when your brain is screaming, abort mission? That's the million-dollar moment. And no, it doesn't involve reciting a script like you're auditioning for emotional Shakespeare. The trick is to keep it real, human, and just a little bit vulnerable. Because nothing disarms tension like honesty without drama. You don't need some perfectly crafted opener. You just need something that signals, hey, I'm not here to attack, I just want to talk. Try, this feels a little awkward for me, but I think it's important. Or, can we talk about something that's been on my mind? I want to make sure we're good, simple, direct, but not defensive. You're not starting a courtroom trial, you're starting a conversation. One where both people get to be heard. Avoid launching in with, we need to talk, like you're delivering a breakup. That phrase has been ruined by sitcoms and exes. Instead, soften your approach. Make it less of a performance, more of a gesture. Even a tiny phrase like, hey, I've been thinking about something and I'd love to get your take on it, creates a whole different vibe. Starting right doesn't mean having the perfect line. It means showing up with the right energy, calm, open, and clear. And once the door's open, you'd be surprised how ready people are to walk through it with you. Now here's the part where most people trip up, even if they manage to get the words out. They don't read the room. Timing and context are everything. You could have the most thoughtful, well-worded opener in the world, but if you drop it on someone when they're stressed, distracted, or in the middle of watching their favorite show, you might as well be yelling into the void. Starting a tough conversation isn't just about what you say, it's about when and how. If someone's visibly exhausted after work, maybe don't hit them with, so about your passive-aggressive text earlier? If your friend just got dumped, probably not the best time to confront them about ghosting your birthday dinner. You're not just talking, you're engaging, which means paying attention to cues, body language, tone, energy. Does this person seem open right now? Are they present? Are you? Also, your tone matters. More than your words, honestly. The same sentence can sound like an attack or a peace offering, depending on your vibe. Speak like you're talking to someone you care about, not like you're building your case in a courtroom. You're aiming for connection, not confession. And please, for the love of all things non-cringy, don't ambush someone. No cornering people in bathrooms or texting, we need to talk, with zero context. That's not mature, it's a jump scare. Difficult conversations deserve intention, respect the moment, and the moment might just respect you back. Let's be real. Even if you nail the opener and read the room like a Jedi, there's still a chance the other person reacts poorly. Maybe they get defensive. Maybe they shut down. Maybe they turn it into your fault somehow. That's not a failure. That's just people being people. Emotions are messy, and not everyone knows how to handle them with grace on command. The key is not to freak out when things get tense. Your job isn't to control their reaction, it's to manage your own. If they raise their voice, you lower yours. If they go quiet, you stay present. Remember, the conversation isn't about getting the perfect response. It's about being honest and staying calm even when it's uncomfortable. And yeah, sometimes that means letting a few awkward silences breathe without rushing in to fill them. This is where empathy does heavy lifting. Try to see where they're coming from, even if it's frustrating. Maybe your words hit a nerve. Maybe they weren't expecting it. Maybe they've got stuff bubbling under the surface too. The goal isn't to win, it's to understand, to hold space without letting the whole thing turn into a ping-pong match of blame. Think of it like riding a wave. Stay steady, don't panic. Let the initial emotional splash settle. Most reactions soften once people realize you're not there to fight, you're there to find clarity. And that's when real progress begins. So let's say you've done it. You started the conversation, you stayed calm, they didn't throw a chair. What now? This is the part no one ever really talks about, the aftermath. Because difficult conversations don't always end with some dramatic breakthrough or teary hug. Sometimes they just end. A little awkward, a little unresolved. And that's okay. You don't need the perfect resolution at the moment. What matters more is that you said the thing. You showed up with honesty. That's the win. The truth is, most difficult conversations are not one and done. They're the start of an ongoing process, one where both people get the chance to reflect, adjust, and grow. Think of it like planting a seed. It might not bloom right away, but it needs to be planted all the same. Also, expect a little emotional hangover. Your brain just did something brave. You might replay it in your head. You might wonder if you should have said it differently. That's normal. But don't let the overthinking erase the progress. You moved the needle. You cracked open a stuck space. That matters. And maybe the other person isn't thrilled. Maybe it's tense for a bit. That's not failure. It's transition. Change almost always feels uncomfortable before it gets better. You've started something important. Trust that clarity, even when it's imperfect, is always better than carrying silent weight. You don't need closure. You need courage. And you already showed up with that. Every difficult conversation you avoid doesn't just disappear, it waits, quietly, patiently, until it comes out sideways, sharper, and way messier than it needed to be. But when you choose to speak up, with care, with calm, with a little courage, you're not just having a talk. You're choosing honesty over comfort, growth over silence. And that choice? It changes everything. If this helped you feel even slightly more ready to face that conversation you've been putting off, hit that like button so it doesn't feel like we just trauma bonded for nothing. And hey, subscribe for more real-life communication tips that don't sound like they came from a robot with a clipboard. You've got this. Speak up.